When you match his distance, you remind him of your value without raising your voice, without fighting for attention, and without proving anything to him, because your absence becomes louder than any words you could ever say. There is a kind of power that comes from stepping back, a kind of strength that comes from choosing yourself instead of clinging to someone who isn't choosing you with the same intensity. Many people think pulling away is a game, but it isn't. It is a declaration of self-respect. It is a moment where you stop giving more than you are receiving and instead allow your energy to reflect the truth of how you are being treated. When you step back, not out of anger but out of clarity, something shifts. Not only inside you, but inside him. A man who has grown used to your constant presence begins to feel the weight of your silence, the emptiness of your absence, and the space that once overflowed with your effort now becomes a mirror he cannot avoid. He starts to realize how much space you filled, how much warmth you provided, how much stability your consistency brought into his life. He notices that the good morning text you always sent is missing. He notices that the concern you once showed when he pulled away is no longer there. He notices that the woman who once tried to hold everything together is now choosing to let things be, not because she doesn't care, but because she's tired of being the only one who does. When you match his distance, you send a message that says, "I am willing to meet you where you stand, but I will no longer walk miles for a man who won't take a single step toward me." That message, even unspoken, carries an emotional impact he cannot escape. A man may not always appreciate a woman's presence while he has it, but he will always feel her absence when she finally steps back, and that feeling does something to him. It wakes him up. It forces him to confront the truth he has been avoiding. If he truly cares, he begins to realize how much he has been taking for granted. He begins to compare his effort to yours. He begins to understand that you were not asking for too much. You were asking for the bare minimum of mutual energy. He begins to recognize that the connection he thought would always be there is not guaranteed. And for the first time, he is faced with the possibility that he might lose you. Not because you slammed a door, but because you quietly stopped forcing one open. But there is an even deeper layer to this. When you match his distance, you also remind yourself of your value. You remind yourself that your love is a gift, not a burden. You remind yourself that your effort should be appreciated, not expected. You remind yourself that you deserve reciprocity, not emotional crumbs. And as you pull back, you begin to see things more clearly. You begin to notice the imbalance you were ignoring. You begin to feel the exhaustion you didn't want to admit. You begin to understand that connection without mutual effort becomes self-sacrifice, and self-sacrifice disguised as love becomes emotional damage. Matching his distance is not about making him chase you. It is about freeing yourself from the idea that you must work harder to be chosen. It is about releasing the belief that love is proven through suffering. It is about rediscovering your power, your worth, your boundaries, and your voice. When you take that step back, something inside you starts to heal. You realize that peace feels better than anxiety. You realize that silence feels better than unanswered questions. You realize that letting go feels better than holding on to someone who is slipping away. And the moment you feel that peace, you understand why distance was necessary. What he feels during that distance becomes the truth you need. If he moves toward you, it means his heart was always in it. If he remains distant, it means his heart never was. And that clarity, as painful as it may seem, is a blessing. Because your distance separates the man who values you from the man who only valued what you gave. It reveals who is committed and who is simply comfortable. It shows you who sees your worth and who only saw the convenience of your presence. So when you match a man's distance, you are not losing him. You are giving him the chance to step up. And you are giving yourself the chance to step away from anything that is not aligned with the love you deserve. The right man will feel your absence and move closer. The wrong man will feel your absence and keep drifting. And both outcomes bring you the truth you need to protect your heart and elevate your life. When you match his distance and he reacts with frustration, anger, or sudden accusations, I want you to understand something deeply, because this is where so many women misunderstand their own power. His frustration is not really about you pulling away. It is about the reality you are forcing him to face, possibly for the first time. When someone gets used to you being the emotional anchor, the one who reaches out first, the one who fixes the silence, the one who rescues the connection every time it starts to fade, they build an unspoken comfort around your effort. The moment you stop doing what you used to do, the moment you step back and simply allow the dynamic to reflect his energy instead of yours, you disrupt the pattern he relied on. That disruption creates discomfort, and discomfort creates reactions. His frustration becomes a mirror revealing how dependent he was on your effort, not on the relationship itself. He may say things like, "Why are you acting different? Why are you being distant?" Or, "What's your problem suddenly?" But what he's really saying underneath those words is, "Why aren't you holding this together anymore while I put in the bare minimum?" He feels the loss of control over a dynamic that benefited him. He feels the shift in power because suddenly you are not the predictable source of reassurance he could always turn to without giving anything in return. His frustration becomes a sign that he was never matching your energy. He was relying on you to maintain a connection he wasn't willing to nurture himself. And when a man who has been emotionally comfortable feels the ground shift beneath him, he reacts, not out of love, but out of entitlement. But here is what you need to understand, and I want you to hold this truth close. His reaction does not define your worth. It exposes his intentions. A man who truly values you will not criticize you for reflecting his energy. He will not become irritated because you stopped overgiving. He will not blame you for allowing the relationship to reveal what he has been ignoring. Instead, he will pause, self-reflect, and recognize that his lack of effort created the distance you matched. He will step forward because he doesn't want to lose you. He will communicate because he values clarity. He will soften because your feelings matter to him. But the man who becomes angry simply because you chose yourself, the man who becomes irritated because you stopped compensating for his lack of effort, is revealing that he was more invested in the comfort of your consistency than the commitment of building something real. When he reacts negatively to your distance, it shows you the emotional truth he was hiding behind casual behavior. It shows you whether he was truly involved or simply enjoying the benefits of your care. It shows you if his connection with you was built on genuine interest or convenient attention. And the beauty of your silence is that it removes the illusion. It brings everything into focus. You don't have to fight. You don't have to explain yourself. You don't have to prove anything. His reaction tells the story for you. If his frustration turns into guilt-tripping, playing victim, or trying to make you feel responsible for the emotional imbalance he created, understand that you are witnessing manipulation, not love. When someone is more upset about losing control than losing you, they were never holding you with integrity in the first place. They were holding you because you made their life easier. You made their ego feel safe. You filled their emotional void. And now that you're choosing yourself, that comfort is slipping. Their reaction simply exposes the truth you needed to see. But something else happens when you match his distance. You begin to see your own strength. You begin to recognize that your world does not collapse when you stop chasing someone. You begin to understand that you are not emotionally fragile. You are simply emotionally invested. And investment without return becomes self-betrayal. Matching his distance breaks that pattern. It brings you back to yourself. It allows you to breathe again. It allows you to hear your own thoughts instead of drowning in the noise of worrying whether he cares. And the moment you feel that clarity, you realize that his reaction, good or bad, is not a judgment of your value, but a revelation of his character. A man who is right for you will use the space as a wake-up call, not as a weapon against you. He will lean in instead of lashing out. He will appreciate your boundaries instead of resenting them. He will understand that distance is not rejection, but an opportunity to step up. But a man who reacts with anger or irritation is showing you that he never intended to match your effort, he only intended to benefit from it. So when his reaction comes, don't panic, don't chase, and don't shrink yourself to make him comfortable again. Let the reaction reveal what it needs to reveal. Let his behavior show you whether he is a partner or just a user of your emotional labor. Let your distance speak for you. If he values you, he will move with intention. If he does not, he will blame you for not carrying everything alone. And in that truth, you will find the clarity you need to protect your heart and rise into the love you truly deserve. When you match his distance and he doesn't come closer, when he doesn't ask what's wrong, when he doesn't attempt to bridge the space between you, I want you to pay very close attention because his silence is not empty. It is full of information. It is signaling something that many women overlook because they are too busy trying to hold on to what they hope the relationship could be. His lack of reaction is not neutral. It is a message. And sometimes that message is the one you've been avoiding, the one your heart didn't want to hear, the one your intuition whispered but you kept pushing away. When you step back and he stays exactly where he is, or worse, he drifts even farther, you are witnessing the truth of his investment, the truth of his desire, and the truth of his intentions without him ever needing to say a word. A man who truly values you feels your absence. He notices when your energy shifts. He feels the difference when your effort decreases. He senses when something is off because he is emotionally tuned in, not because he is clingy or insecure, but because he cares. He notices change the same way you notice change in someone you love. And when he doesn't respond to that shift, when he doesn't ask, doesn't lean in, doesn't move closer, it means the bond you thought was strong might have been held together mostly by your effort. This is painful, but it is also freeing because clarity, even when it hurts, is the beginning of healing. When a man doesn't come closer after you match his distance, it shows that he was not relying on your presence emotionally. You were filling the space with your effort, your consistency, your loyalty, your availability, your care. And when you paused, he didn't feel a loss because he was never giving enough to notice. He was never invested deeply enough to feel the void. His silence reveals that the connection was more meaningful to you than it was to him. And that is something incredibly important to acknowledge, not because you are unworthy, but because you deserve someone who meets you with the same intention. But I want you to also understand the deeper meaning behind this. When you step back and he stays distant, it is not a sign that you did something wrong. It is a sign that he was never going to step forward on his own. It exposes a truth you needed to see. Some men only stay connected because you keep trying. You keep initiating. You keep checking on them. You keep fixing the gaps. You keep giving chances. You keep speaking life into a bond that they don't water. When you stop doing that, the connection collapses, not because you destroyed it, but because it was only alive from your side. And when that happens, I want you to feel your strength, not your loss. I want you to recognize that your distance didn't ruin anything. It revealed everything. You didn't break the relationship. You exposed its imbalance. You didn't push him away. You simply stopped pulling him closer. You didn't lose him. You just let him show you where he really stood. And in that moment, you gain something far more valuable than his attention. You gain truth. You gain clarity. You gain direction. His silence becomes a compass pointing you back to yourself. It shows you that your heart was invested in a place where it wasn't being held with the same care. It shows you that you were pouring effort into a connection that wasn't being reciprocated. It shows you that the version of him you were holding on to may have been based more on potential than reality. And as painful as this realization is, it is also one of the most empowering turning points in a woman's life. Because once you see the truth, you can no longer accept lies disguised as excuses. You can no longer tolerate inconsistency disguised as confusion. You can no longer settle for silence disguised as emotional independence. When he doesn't come closer, it's not rejection, it is redirection. It is life pulling you away from someone who is not meant to be the center of your emotional world. It is life protecting you from investing in a place that cannot sustain you. It is life making room for someone who will show up, who will notice, who will respond, who will match your energy naturally, not just when you pull away. And this is where your power truly rises. Because instead of chasing, begging, or over-explaining, you learn to observe. You learn to let actions speak. You learn to trust distance as a filter. You learn that the right man will always move towards you, even through silence. You learn that matching energy isn't a strategy, it's a statement of self-worth. You learn that stepping back is not losing, it's choosing yourself. And you learn that sometimes the best thing a man can do for you is show you that he's not the one. So if he doesn't come closer when you pull back, don't fill the space again. Don't rush to fix it. Don't send another message. Don't reopen a door he walked away from. Let his silence be the answer. Let his distance be the sign. Let his lack of effort guide you. Because the moment you accept what his reaction truly means, you reclaim your power, you reclaim your heart, and you free yourself to receive a love that feels mutual, stable, secure, and real. When you match his distance and he suddenly becomes inconsistent, hot one moment and cold the next, interested today and indifferent tomorrow, I want you to recognize the emotional truth hidden inside that inconsistency, because inconsistency is never random. It is a pattern, a message, and most importantly, a reflection of how seriously someone takes you. When you step back and his response becomes unpredictable, it reveals something about his character that you might have overlooked while you were the one holding the emotional thread together. His inconsistency is not confusion. It is a sign of his comfort with giving you less than you deserve. When you stop overgiving, when you stop filling all the gaps, when you stop being the emotional engine that keeps everything moving, you allow reality to show itself. And reality often shows that some men love the idea of having access to you without the responsibility of showing up for you. So when you match his distance and he starts to come closer one moment only to disappear the next, what you are witnessing is not effort. It is not growth. It is not emotional maturity. It is simply him reacting to the possibility of losing something convenient. He wants the benefit without the commitment, the attention without the responsibility, the reassurance that you're still there even if he isn't fully choosing you. But inconsistency becomes especially powerful as a test when you decide to mirror his distance, because it exposes who he truly is when you stop carrying the emotional weight. A man who reacts with inconsistency is a man who wants to keep you close enough to feel desired, but far enough to avoid accountability. He wants the comfort of knowing you care, but he doesn't want to match your effort in a way that would require vulnerability or emotional investment. So he pulls you in only when he feels you drifting too far, not because he wants to build with you, but because he wants to maintain control of your emotional availability. When someone is consistent, you never have to guess what they feel. You never have to question where you stand. You never have to read between the lines or decode their behavior. Consistency is clarity. So when a man becomes inconsistent the moment you pull back, understand that he is responding not to you, but to the loss of certainty he once had. He is not coming closer because he wants a future with you. He is coming closer because he fears losing the comfort of your presence. And when that fear fades because you show interest again, he retreats. That cycle is not love. It is manipulation wrapped in uncertainty. His inconsistency is a reflection of his emotional capacity, and it tells you everything you need to know about how he would show up in a relationship. If he can't be consistent in the early stages, when everything should be exciting and full of intention, he will not magically become consistent later when life becomes more demanding, more serious, more real. Inconsistency is a man showing you his natural rhythm, and it is up to you to decide if that rhythm matches the love you want. But I want to talk about something even deeper here. When a woman matches a man's distance, she steps back into her own power. She gives herself room to breathe, room to observe, room to understand. And from that space, she sees things she couldn't see before. She realizes how exhausting it was to always be the one holding everything together. She realizes how draining inconsistency feels when you've been giving consistency without question. She realizes that emotional peace feels foreign only because she's been accustomed to emotional chaos disguised as connection. And as you step back, you will notice your intuition getting louder. You will start to feel the truth that inconsistency is not something you need to tolerate, fix, or decode. It is something you need to walk away from, because inconsistency creates emotional instability, and emotional instability creates self-doubt, and self-doubt slowly eats at your self-worth. When a man shows you inconsistency, he is showing you his limits. He is showing you how much he is willing or not willing to give. He is showing you where his emotional ceiling is. And your job is not to shrink yourself to fit inside that ceiling. Your job is to honor your need for stability, clarity, and peace. When you match his distance and he becomes inconsistent, pay attention to how you feel. Pay attention to the anxiety it creates, the overthinking it triggers, the emotional confusion it brings. That feeling is showing you that this connection is not secure. That feeling is telling you that he is not providing emotional safety. That feeling is reminding you that love should not feel like guessing. And when you understand that you reclaim your power, no woman deserves to feel uncertain. No woman deserves to feel like she needs to earn consistency. No woman deserves to feel like affection must be chased or negotiated. And the moment you match his distance, the truth presents itself clearly. If he were serious, he would respond with clarity, intention, and effort. If he responds with inconsistency, it means he is giving you the bare minimum needed to keep you emotionally available without offering the commitment required to build something real. So when you see inconsistency after you pull back, don't read it as interest. Read it as a warning. Don't take it as a sign to try harder. Take it as a sign to walk away with your dignity intact, because the right man will not fluctuate. The right man will not play push and pull. The right man will not offer you crumbs when you deserve a full table. The right man will show up with steadiness, not unpredictability. And when you match his distance, the wrong man reveals himself while the right man rises to meet you. When you match his distance and he suddenly starts putting in effort, not temporarily, not inconsistently, but genuinely and consistently, I want you to understand what that shift truly means, because it is one of the clearest signs that your absence had weight. Your energy had value. Your presence mattered more than you realized. When you step back and he steps forward with clarity instead of confusion, with intention instead of hesitation, with consistency instead of excuses, you are seeing something rare and meaningful, something that speaks directly to the depth of his feelings for you. It means he didn't take your presence for granted, and the moment he felt it slip even slightly out of reach, he recognized the importance of your connection. Not because he feared being alone, but because he feared losing you. When a man truly cares, he notices the shift in your energy before you even say a word. He feels the difference when you stop overgiving, when you stop initiating, when you stop filling all the emotional gaps. And instead of ignoring that shift or retreating into silence, he responds by stepping closer, not with panic, but with commitment. He doesn't want to lose the connection because it isn't replaceable for him. He doesn't want the space to widen because it changes the rhythm of his heart. He doesn't allow the distance to grow because to him, distance represents the possibility of losing someone who genuinely matters. But there is something even deeper happening beneath the surface, something most people never acknowledge. When you match a man's distance and he responds with real effort, it is not simply a reaction. It is awakening. It is the moment he realizes that he can no longer rely on your constant emotional presence as a safety net. It is the moment he understands that love is not something that survives on autopilot. It is the moment he recognizes that you are not a given, and losing you would mean losing something meaningful, grounding, and rare. That realization lights a spark in him, and that spark is what turns into effort, clarity, and action. A man who values you will never watch you drift away and do nothing. He will meet your distance with purpose. He will check in. He will try to reconnect. He will ask what changed. He will show up in ways he hasn't before, because he finally understands the emotional reality of your absence. And that understanding creates urgency. Not desperation, but devotion. The right kind of urgency. The kind that pushes him to stop taking shortcuts in love, to stop hiding behind fear, to stop assuming he has unlimited time to make things right. It pushes him to rise. And the important thing for you to recognize is that this rise happens not